yeah, welcome back to another reaction video. Guys, today we reacted to another video, another eye-opener. Okay, the title is Why Germans Don't Get Fat Like Americans. Fats. You know, there are different types of fats. There is normal fat. Yeah. Sometimes, like, you have fat on your body. And there are people that are just fats. You look at them and you be like, what is this? Then there are people that are fats, that can't even walk. And those people, they're not in Nigeria. They must be in America. Because there's no way you'll be in Nigeria under this hard economy and you're getting fat. Guys. Oh, look at you. See, we don't have that type where you get fat to the point that you can't even walk. We don't have that, guys. Well, let's check this out. Why Germans don't get fat like Americans?
I've lived in Germany on and off since 2016, and living here has given me a very valuable outside perspective of my home country, the USA. And a huge takeaway for me has been that Germany is sort of the land of moderation and the middle, while the United States is the land of extremes. Extremely rich, extremely poor, extremely beautiful, extremely ugly, extremely fit, and extremely fat. Behind only the small island nations, the United States is the most obese country in the world. The ranging numbers estimate that 30% of American adults are overweight, while 42% are considered obese, leaving over 2/3 of America's adult population being considered overweight or obese, among the highest in the world. But contrast this to Germany, a Western nation with a lot of societal similarities to the United States. And you'd think a country that's obsessed with bread and beer would also have this problem on the same scale. But Germany actually has a much lower prevalence of obesity, with the rate being around 19%. Even when just walking around in these two countries, you can notice this difference. So for the past few weeks, I've taken a deep dive into why this is, and it's been fascinating at times and shocking at times.
That is wild.
So settle in and let's talk about why Americans get fat and Germans do not.
Americans are not winning.
Wait, guys. We'll see. In this part, like, we need to know why. Because in this part of the world, here in Nigeria, we hardly see people that have a base. Like, we hardly see them. We hardly. Because there is no way that to be fat to the point that you're just stuck in one place. You won't walk around. See, it's not possible because your family will not even allow you. Like, your family will not. What will you be doing? You're just sitting there eating. Who is providing? Okay, you have to stand up and go and provide. Like, it's... I don't know. After this, I'll check out the percentage of obese people in Nigeria. We need to check this out because no. Wait.
Their battle against obesity.
I can juggle these. That was actually pretty good. You see that?
Wow. That's...
Okay, chill out. Now, while we're on the subject, let me tell you guys a little bit about my health. So many of you guys know I've been an athlete almost my entire life, so my health and wellness are super important to me. I really like to take care of myself and my body. I always find that I feel my best both mentally and physically when I really take care of what I put into my body. And that is where the sponsor of today's video comes in, AG1. So AG1 is a daily foundational nutritional drink that supports health for your entire body. The science-driven formula supports the brain, the gut, and the immune system. As human beings, we all rely on certain nutrients, vitamins, and minerals for our overall health. Now, you guys know me, I don't have the most diverse diet in the world, and I don't get all of the necessary vitamins and minerals from what I eat, and that is where AG1 helps me out. And man, I just feel great mentally and physically when I drink AG1. It's becoming a morning routine for me. It's an effortless daily habit. I drink it in the morning on an empty stomach. So that's the first thing that my body gets in the morning is 75 vitamins, minerals, and whole food sourced ingredients of the highest quality. Straight to my body and my brain.
It tastes phenomenal. I really like how it tastes.
One of the best things about drinking AG1 for me is now I'm drinking much less coffee. So I start my day off drinking AG1 and I get this sort of sustained, relaxed focus and energy. When I drink coffee, I get kind of up and down and a little bit jittery, but when I drink AG1, I have a much more natural, less jittery energy. I've also noticed that I feel less stressed, both mentally and physically, when I start my day with AG1. When my body just gets all of these vitamins and minerals and nutrients that it needs and craves, I can just feel it, that my body and mind are more satisfied and calm. So guys, go to drinkag1/nalf or click the link in the description to get started on an order of AG1. They are going to give you guys, my audience, a free 1-year supply of AG vitamin D3 plus K2 and 5 AG1 travel packs with your first purchase. I really recommend it. It helps me feel great overall, mentally and physically each day. Thanks again to AG1 for sponsoring today's video. All right, back to the video.
AG1.
So there's a few main categories that I think we need to discuss. The first is lifestyle.
The Germans love to walk. Of course, there's walking and there's walking. The Sonntagsspaziergang, or Sunday stroll, has long been an established feature in the lives of many German families.
Well, Germans are pretty famous for loving the outdoors. Now, this is not to say that Americans don't also love outdoor activities. I would actually even argue that certain American states like Colorado and parts of my state, Oregon, are just as active, if not more active, than Germany. But we're talking about the countries on average as a whole. Germans are much more active in the outdoors than Americans. And from my perspective, Germans seem to participate in physical activities that are sort of mild in nature, and they don't really seem to separate their life from their exercise. I feel like people in the United States either are obsessed with fitness and working out almost in an unhealthy way, or don't work out or exercise at all. So for example, with activities like walking or a mild hike or a little bike ride, this seems to be very common with Germans. And the stats back it up. 80% of German households own a bike, while only 48% of American households do. Now, we'll touch a little bit more on this stuff later, but I think it's important just to recognize sort of the different attitudes of these activities between the two different countries. So since living in Germany, every time I go back to the States, I feel a little bit sick for about a week. And I always kind of joked that it's like, oh, my body got used to not consuming all those American chemicals while in Germany. Now I'm back and my body is dealing with those chemicals again. And it was always like kind of a joke. But after researching everything, it seems like there's probably quite a bit of truth to that. Diet, food, chemicals. It's the early 20th century. Times are hard in the US. We're facing the Dust Bowl and eventually the Great Depression. So during this time, farmers faced severe economic hardship. And so the government implemented interventions to stabilize agricultural markets and support struggling farmers, including the subsidization of corn. Now, this was actually supposed to just be a temporary measure, but over time, we realized all of the industrial applications of corn. Aside from it just being a very below average food that I never get on my Chipotle, it has a wide range of applications, such as biofuel production, animal feed, and food processing. Eventually, lobbying groups came into play as well, which leads this to still be happening today. So the situation in the US today is that corn is subsidized by the government and it is cheap and abundant. And this has led to the development and widespread use of high fructose corn syrup. This is an artificial sweetener made of corn that's cheaper than sugar and satisfies that American sweet tooth palate. So if you saw the video where my cousin Ty tried that sort of, I forgot what it was called, but this pastry from the German bakery, which is one of the most sugar-filled pastries you can get at a German bakery, and he described it as like a diet donut.
And Ty actually picked out something that I've never eaten before.
a Quarktasche.
It tastes like a diet donut.
Ty says it tastes like a diet donut.
That just kind of shows the difference right there. Our American palates are hooked on sweets, which is satisfied by this incredibly unhealthy high fructose corn syrup, which helps plump us up. So today, the most subsidized crop in the USA is still corn, which is not the case in Germany. Germany primarily subsidizes wheat, barley, and dairy. And this is possibly why whenever Germans come over to the United States, they always complain about the quality of American dairy products. That was one of the things my girlfriend was excited when she came back to Germany to get good dairy again. So we're drowning in the high fructose corn syrup in the USA, and it's in an alarming amount of food. And this is helping to make us fat. It's also crazy when you look at a food product, the exact same product, the American version versus a European version, and how much more sugar is in the American version and how many more chemicals are in the American versions of food. So American food is governed by the FDA, the Food and Drug Administration, while the EU is governed by the European Food Safety Authority. But check this out. The FDA allows additives to be used in American foods until they are proven harmful. Europe, on the other hand, will only allow certain additives in food after they have been proven to be unharmful. The FDA is a reactive government, while the European agencies are precautionary.
That is wild.
Now, I'm not necessarily saying that all of these chemicals and additives are making us fat and obese like high fructose corn syrup, but they're probably not healthy and probably not helping us. Another obvious major point with food is fast food culture and portion sizes. The United States is a culture that values convenience, and there's nothing more convenient than fast food. All of the major fast food companies come from the United States, and it's ingrained in our culture. Additionally, portion sizes in the USA are comically big. I didn't even realize this until I lived in Germany and then came back to the States, only to see how crazy they really were.
You know, another thing is I live in an old European town that was built for the foot, not for the car, and I very conveniently walked down to the grocery store to pick up these groceries, something I do almost every other day. So it's just sort of built into the lifestyle here. Walk down to the grocery store. That probably gives me 2,000, 3,000 steps every time I do it, and I do this multiple times a week. Something I don't do in the United States. In the United States, when I go to the grocery store, I'm driving there and I'm buying less healthy foods with a lot more yummy, but bad for you, chemicals.
And this subject of walking brings us to our next topic: cities and infrastructure. We all know that the United States is a huge country and incredibly spaced out, and more often than not, you do need a car to live in the United States. It's just too big and things are too far apart. American cities were largely made for the car, while European and German cities were made more for the pedestrian and the foot. So this is the typical excuse for why Americans drive.
See, guys, for this market stuff, see, that's why I love Nigeria. If the market is too far, in Nigeria, we always have stores, like petty stores, where you can buy things while coming back home. Like, people will just build their houses and bring out like 3 or 4 stores that you might enter this store. This person is selling foodstuffs, the next person is selling drinks, the next person maybe provisions, like different things. So you don't really need to go to the market to buy things there. That's how ours is. And for walking that distance, yeah, I think Nigeria, we also walk. Because sometimes you might get from here to here, they will charge you maybe 200 naira. But at some point, you want to trek a little bit so that you reduce costs. That's how we operate. And we'll definitely work, because Nigeria, staying in Lagos, it's overcrowded. So either you go with your car, leave your car at the office and come back home like that, or just leave your car at home. You can trek some miles because of the traffic, like it's too much. You can trek miles just to go home. Guys, we don't get fat like that. We don't get fat like the Americans. or thereabouts. I don't know what causes the obesity, but I know that's definitely not for Nigeria. Oh.
Drive more than Europeans and walk and bike way less. It's because our country was built for the car and we can't do anything to help it. That's just how our country's set up and how it is. But what if we eliminated some of these variables and found a little bit of consistency? For an example, I came across this really interesting set of data that took a look at Stuttgart and Washington, D.C. These cities have similar economies, labor markets, and core populations of around 600,000 people. Funny enough, these are also two cities that I have spent quite a bit of time in. I went to college for 4 years in Washington, D.C., and I do a lot of work now in Stuttgart with the Stuttgart Surge football team. So I know both of these cities pretty well. D.C. is also known as one of the very few American cities with good public transportation. I can attest to this. I actually used this in college, and it's also one of the most walkable cities in the United States. So let's take a look at some of this data and how people transport themselves throughout these respective cities. 76% of people in Washington, D.C. own a car, while only 58% of people in Stuttgart. The percentage of all trips made by car, 83% of Americans in D.C. Just 58% of Germans living in Stuttgart. This is also interesting. The percentage of trips made by walking, 11% for people in DC, 24% for people in Stuttgart. And for cycling, 1% of trips made by Americans in DC were made by bicycle, whereas 10% of all trips were made by bicycle for Germans living in Stuttgart. 10 times as much. So even when walking and biking is an option, like in Washington, D.C., we Americans choose not to. I think it's ingrained in us a little bit. I would argue that sort of low intensity, mild exercise like biking and especially walking are the best ways to lose weight and lose body fat. You can do a lot of it casually, and it's not like jogging or running. That's a bit more intense. It will possibly work up a big appetite for you. So you come home and you splurge on a bunch of food after working out. This is why walking is probably the best for losing body fat, but we just don't do it. Americans refuse. We hate walking. And a lot of it can be blamed on our cities and how our country is structured. But looking at this example of DC and Stuttgart and seeing the differences in these statistics really opened my eyes to show that it's not just that, we also have different attitudes when it comes to this stuff. So guys, these are a few key reasons for why people in Germany do not seem to get as fat and obese as people in the United States. It's a fascinating subject. I'd be interested to hear if you guys have any opinions on this. If you have some reasons that I left out, please feel free to leave them below. Thanks so much for watching my YouTube videos. I really appreciate it. I hope you have a lovely day. Go on a walk, and I will see you next time.
See you next time. So guys, I really want to ask a question, please. Okay, I think this is mainly for those in America. I want to ask, those people that are too fat, let me say obese, yes, how do they provide? Because I know that obese people, they're just at home eating. Like, how do they work? Like, who gives them the food? Because I know in our proper Nigerian home, in our proper Nigerian home, you can't tell me that you're obese now. You can't. Because who will not be feeding you? Our Nigerian moms will literally throw you out like you should go and work. You can't just stay in my house and be eating. It's not possible. We only give food to children from 0 to normal life 18. Once you're 18, you start looking for what to do from that age. You guys, I don't know how people in America do that. They get so fat to the point that they can't walk. Ha! It's not possible in this part. It's not possible, guys. Guys, so about these facts, what do you have to say about this? And any other suggestions that you would love to add, please, guys, let's see in the comment section. Let's check out the reasons and why and how they live, because I really need to know how they live. Yes. Okay, guys, go have the day itself, and we'll keep living under commanded lessons. Yeah. See you guys in the next video. Bye.